Is Protestantism and sola scriptura actually crazier than I thought? Welcome to my living room. Usually I don't do the videos at night because I rely on the sunlight, and I don't do them at home because there's usually little kids running around. But tonight I wanted to get this out. It was really important to me because I heard something Tuesday at a great event. It was truly a great event. The Argument of the Month Club in the Twin Cities here at St. Augustine's or Augustine's Church, depending on your pronunciation of that, in South St. Paul. A monthly event with 450 Catholic men seeking to learn about the truth of God. It's a fantastic organization. If you want to find out more, I think I'll put a link down here, and go to aotmclub.org, or I'm sorry, .com, aotmclub.com. And I was at that event. And this month, this last Tuesday, there was an event, a debate between a Catholic, a well-known and respected Catholic, Dale Ahlquist from the Cheston Society, the International Cheston Society. Fun guy, great guy, and a very pleasant and fun guy from the college of Bethel College and Seminary outside of St. Paul here. This professor was enjoyable, articulate, expressed his perspectives quite well, and they had a nice, very cordial debate, much more cordial than some of them have been. And but I heard something that I just couldn't get my head around, and I could get my head around it intellectually, but I couldn't understand how someone could actually believe this. And let me try to illustrate. The speaker told us that Luther gave an illustration, and it was an illustration of ships. And Luther said it's better that there are many ships going out and some of them find the truth or make it to God. That's better than one big ship going out and not making it to God or going to hell. Obviously, this big ship is the Catholic Church, and these little ships would be all those individuals or congregations or followers of various Christian thought, and some of them are going to be true, and some of them are not going to be true, and some of them are going to make it to God or to heaven or the truth. Now, I can't quite understand what he was saying. Is he saying that they miss the truth, but they're getting it anyhow because God takes pity on them? But then what happened to the Catholics? God didn't have pity on those. So I had a little difficulty with the whole concept of what value is in truth.
Now, I've recently seen an article that basically said one problem with Protestants is they don't value the truth very much. So, and the point being that if you're going to get in anyhow, no matter how true or untrue your theology is, as though God doesn't care and you just take your best shot at it and it's okay. Or are we required, is there some requirement to know the truth? Now, I have some good, more fundamentalist type friends or friend who really believes that there is a very, there's the right way to look at Scripture. Maybe you call this a MacArthur, John MacArthur in California type. It says, there's a right way to look at it. If you don't look at it the right way, you may be in jeopardy, kind of thing. Problem is that my friend and MacArthur probably don't agree on every point, and these points may be of greater or less importance. But are they
issues of salvation. They may be actually. So, that's one of the problems Catholics have with the idea of sola scriptura, and that was the topic of this debate last Tuesday. So, is sola scriptura true? One of the tenets, and this comes back to the ship metaphor, one of the tenets of sola scriptura is the perspicuity of scriptures. And perspicuity meaning that scriptures can be understood by anyone. They're perspicuous. They're easy to understand. They're understandable. Maybe not easy to understand, but we can all understand them. Luther's famous for his plowboy statement that any plowboy can understand scriptures. And the Catholic response to that is, well, then how come there's so many different Christian denominations, tens of thousands of them? How come they can't all agree? And every split, there's a split near here in Cicado, in a church up there, and the split happened because someone looked at Scripture and says, this is what the Scripture says, and they started their own church. They didn't agree with the church that was there, and I didn't agree with them either. But they were off into some, what I would definitely consider error and immorality, and they were condoning it, and this other group said, no, we see something in Scripture, we're out of here. Now, the assumption is that, well, churches fade off into error, and then, and we do see that. We do see that, morally speaking, all Protestant denominations have with very few exceptions, have changed their moral teaching. Contraception, for example, around the turn of the 20th century, the early 1900s, every single Protestant denomination forbade or condemned the use of contraception. Catholic Church still condemns the use of contraception, while all Protestant denominations accept it, maybe except for very few. Many denominations accept homosexuality, and even in their clergy is accepted in many Protestant denominations. So the reality is that these things aren't set in stone, and maybe tomorrow a new Protestant group will rise up and say that contraception's wrong. How long will that last? Well, the Church hasn't changed its moral teaching, and we have what's called development, so it doesn't change it. It's not going to someday say that, abortion's okay. It develops it, it fine-tunes it. It actually gets more developed, like a seed grows into a tree. So it doesn't change in its essence, it only changes morally, it only changes really in its expression. Like cloning, for instance. Cloning wasn't around 100 years ago, wasn't talked about 100 years ago, and now the Catholic Church can come and have a morally authoritative position on cloning. We're going to get that except for in the Catholic Church. So Scripture, if it's perspicuous, then why is there all this variety in the denominations, different beliefs? Eternal security, which says once saved, always saved, obviously that can lead to problems. If it's not true, then people will go out and they'll abuse that. They'll abuse that. I'm saved. Well, it doesn't really matter what I do. The other side is if it isn't true, then or if it is true, then people who believe they can lose their salvation are somehow insulting God, is how the argument goes. Issues of faith and works. Believe it or not, the Catholic Church is not the only church that teaches that we must have the fruit of good works. The Catholic Church would say that good works, that's the grace of God both to will and to do. So if we aren't doing, then the grace of God is not active in our life. We've cut it off, and we can't be saved. So, these are some of the big things. Infant baptism and adult baptism. Who's right? There's plenty of Protestant denominations that believe in infant baptism, and they have scriptural basis for it. Now, is that true? So these are huge things. The Trinitarian, non-Trinitarian, the Jesus-only folks, they're both using Scripture. One of them is wrong, and many people on both sides of the fence would say that is a salvation issue. So the reality is that if the Scriptures are perspicuous, people are evil intent, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that the good pastor down at First Baptist is an evil guy. He's doing his best, but there's a problem, and the problem is what Scripture tells us. Scripture tells us the heart is desperately wicked above all things. I learned that Scripture as a Protestant. As a Catholic, I also learned that original sin has affected my intellect. It's dulled all humanity's intellect. How are we going to read Scripture and be able to just automatically see the truth? No, like the Ethiopian eunuch who said to Philip, I need a guide to show me. Who's that guide? Is it the guy down the street? Well, where did he learn it from? He learned it from some other guy who got it from his Bible. Nope, we all need a guide. The guide I have is the bishops, and those bishops in communion with the Pope. Where did they get it from? They got it from the bishops, who got it from the bishops, who got it from the bishops. And our bishops, our Catholic bishops, they have a succession all the way back to the apostles. And this is the kind of certainty that Jesus promised when he said, I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. He promised to lead us into all truth. And it can't be in all truth where everyone has a different answer. This is Dan Wagner from Catholic Courage and danwagner.org. Have a great day. Rate this video even if you hate it. Subscribe to get updates. And please leave a comment whether you agree or disagree. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.